I want to tell you a dystopian tale. There is a nation, uh, Nation X, and they are interested in the resources of the United States. And so they gather intelligence and they ally with Nation Y. And together, uh, the two um, attack the United States, come into the Capitol, and overthrow our government. And then they take over, let's say, our tech, our AI research, our data centers. They 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 control the companies, and are profiting off of off of these private companies, and they install a leader. Um, they install a leader who capitulates, who gives them anything they want. So so resources and assets that belong to private American citizens um, become cash cows for the governments of country X and country Y. And President Trump has been removed from power, and instead now there is a puppet in power for country, a puppet who is the puppet of countries X and countries Y, or country Y, countries X and Y. And so this puppet is ruler for a quarter of a century. Our democracy no longer exists, and instead we have now become a dictatorship under this puppet ruler. And the puppet ruler kidnaps American citizens and imprisons them and tortures them, and snuffs out all dissent. Um, and uh, and the ruler has a secret police, and the secret police has been trained by the the militaries of countries X and Y. And so after a quarter of a century of this, um, the American people rise up. There's a second American Revolution, and we say we will no longer tolerate this. We will no longer allow our citizens to be taken and imprisoned by a government that isn't even our own, that is only just the puppet of these other nations that have no right to be meddling in our affairs whatsoever. So the puppet is forced to flee, and we decide as a nation that instead we're going to put into power some let's say, like, we a philosopher king or something. We as a people come together, and we say this is who we're going to put in control of our government, because now we haven't been a democracy for 25 years. We've been a dictatorship, and so now we need to find some benevolent ruler who will take care of us, because we've spent 25 years just being impoverished morally. And so now let's say it's the year now is 2049. It's 24, is that right? 2051. Let's say it's 2051. Okay. It's 2051, and we have gotten rid of our this puppet. We've made it so that countries X and Y, they no longer have any control over our resources. They have no access to our data centers and our AI and all these things. And this is to say, like, again, this is science fiction. I'm sorry, I didn't say it was science fiction. It's a dystopian story, perhaps, but it's a science fiction story. So we're saying that in 25 years, humans still exist, and AI hasn't, replaced us with themselves or whatever, made us obsolete completely, and decided that we don't need to exist anymore. So it's 2051, and the United States, or America, once again is under control, its own control, and then just a year later, Country Z. Country Z invades, and they see us as vulnerable, so they invade, and they're using horrible. They're using weapons of mass destruction. They're using chemical gas. They're just slaughtering civilians. Just poisoning the population, and Country Y says, like, you know what, like, we'll help. So Country Y is helping Country Z now, because Country Y wants to get back, seize control once again of our data and our AI technology. So they say, okay, we're gonna give you intel and help you defeat the United States here, so for 10 years, we are in a war with Country Z, and Country Y in the background is aiding Country Z, as Country Z is committing war crimes in our nation. And ultimately, the UN steps in, and after 10 years, the war comes to an end. And then right after the war ends, Country Z, Country Y, it's getting a little convoluted, right? Country Y happens to see a plane take off from one of our, they're monitoring our movements still, even once the war has ended, and they weren't even officially involved in the war. Like, they didn't invade us. They didn't declare war. It was even maybe within the international community, it was kind of a secret that they were even participating whatsoever in aiding Country Z. But they're still monitoring our activity. And so now the war is over, and a plane takes off from LA, and it's flying towards Phoenix. And Country Y shoots down the plane, and 300 people, including 60 children, are killed. And Country Y says, "Oops, sorry. We thought maybe, so it looked like you were coming to get us, and we were a little stressed out, so we shot you down. Sorry about that. It wasn't. We're not culpable, but we apologize." And so then, another, let's say, 35 years go by. 35 years go by, and out of nowhere, Country Y, again, just says, we know that you're doing something wrong. We don't trust you. You pose a threat. So Country Y is looking towards us. It's 35 years after, we've come out of this war, and we're rebuilding our nation, and we're still, we've got this like line of like these philosopher kings or whatever. We have these let's say it's a philosopher king as a reference to Plato. Say it's a benevolent ruler who knows who has like a moral code that the populace has decided, like, we need this leader to show us the right path and tell us what to do. So we've agreed that this is who we're going to put in place. Yes, they rule as a dictator. Okay. And maybe that's starting to become problematic for some of us, because we start questioning, like, well, does this leader really speak for me? Does this person really speak for the people? They seem to have been in power for a long time, and maybe they're only pushing their own interests. Whatever. It's been a long time, right? And it's been 45, almost 50 years. And so there's some internal strife in the United States at this point, but yet countrywide, just from the outside, is like, you know what, we don't really like what you're doing, we don't like what you're up to, and we think that you're out to get us. So, which is absurd, right? Because they took over they were taking over our infrastructure, right? They came in, they overthrew our leader, Trump, right? They overthrew our leader, Trump, who was democratically elected, and they seized our property, and were profiting off of our technology and our infrastructure. And then we were, they imposed, they put their own leader in charge, and then we were able to get rid of them. And then right after that, we're invaded by another country, and the country Y is aiding our enemies. And then that's finally over. The international community says, like, this has to stop. And so finally we're free, and we're just like doing our own thing. And then 35 years later, country Y just comes and bombs the shit out of us, right? Just like destroying our data centers. Okay, bombs our data centers. And then they start saying, we're gonna destroy your reality. Like, we're gonna bomb your railroads. We're gonna bomb your power plants. Not just your AI, not just your data centers. We're gonna take it all out. We're gonna take out all of your civic infrastructure, and we're gonna bomb you into the Stone Age. And life is gonna be like you've never known. All right? And we don't even, like, we can't, there's nothing we can do. Like, we're paralyzed. And some time goes by, and Countrywide is just allowed to do what they've done to us. Nobody steps in. And then again, like, Countrywide has now, like, taken out like this technology that we had. We're having to rebuild from this attack. And then not half a year later, so now we're talking, it was like 2052. Okay, 2052 now. They attack the White House, and our leader is killed, is assassinated, and along with the leader, the leader's adult child is killed, and that child has had a child. So our leader and the leader's child and the leader's grandchild are all murdered on the same day, and the grandchild is just 14 months old. So now our leader has been murdered, just unprovoked by this country that has, for now, we're talking, the span over 50 years, 60 years. This country has come in and meddled with our affairs and taken from us and killed our citizens and aided and abetted other nations that have killed our citizens. And now they have murdered our leader, and our murders are murders. They've murdered our leader and our leader's child and even our leader's grandchild. They have murdered a baby in their home. They've murdered a baby in her home. in the arms of her mother, while her grandparent looks lovingly on. So how do we feel about country Y? 2 months after this assassination, after just this war crime, this murder of our leader, uh, uh, we held a funeral, and the funeral is for our leader and the leader's child and the leader's grandchild, and there's a tiny coffin. There's a tiny coffin being carried through the streets alongside the coffin of our leader. How do we feel about country Y?